It was several hours before Seto was able to check the records. He'd stopped by his house on the way back to the office to change his clothes and fix his hair so no one noticed anything out of the ordinary. On the contrary, he was bombarded with questions and queries and general comments as he always was. And then, of course, he had that ridiculous meeting to attend. Once he was finally able to get a few minutes to himself, Seto ordered Roland to make sure he remained undisturbed and locked himself in his office. He started up his computer, bringing up Noah's game on the far left screen without even looking at what he was doing. It was instinct now, and pulled out the file he'd concealed in his coat, doing his very best to ignore the concerned look Noah was giving him. Seto had called him back in the car as he'd promised, and the call lasted about 30 seconds. He informed him that he had the files and was on his way back, dodged the question when Noah asked him if he was all right, and hung up.
Moment of truth.
After seeing what he had, he was certain that there was no capacity in which Lamia could have been involved with Sector 1 that he could forgive. He opened the folder to find a younger picture of his aunt, and a very generic sheet detailing her name, date of birth, and so on. The file, while much emptier than Seto expected, confirmed what they already knew, that Lamia worked in Sector 1, and detailed a few of the projects that she'd been part of. Each project was given a name, usually a mix of letters and numbers, and a brief description of their intention. It seemed that her specialty was psychological weaponry. Mind control, will bending, emotional manipulation, that kind of thing. Seto expected to see all of this. What he didn't expect to see in her history with the company was that she didn't start out in Sector 1. She didn't even start out in any of the more intellectual jobs. She was an administrative assistant at first, working part-time by answering phones and responding to messages. Then, all of a sudden, or so it seemed, she got the promotion of a lifetime, and at the tender age of 19. It was strange that an administrative assistant should suddenly acquire such a cognitive role within the company, but Seto didn't investigate further. As far as he was concerned, Lamia was guilty as charged, and someone as dangerous as she was had no business being anywhere near his little brother. Seto hadn't expected to see Lamia sitting on his sofa when he got home, but he realized that maybe he should have. She sat, of course, with Mokuba, who looked utterly enchanted with whatever she was saying to him. Seto didn't care enough to note what it was.
Mokuba, leave the room.
Seto, what's this about?
I know what you did.
Those 5 chilling words wiped the confused smile right off the woman's face. Mokuba, who hadn't done as he was asked, glanced between the two of them.
What are you talking about? What is he talking about? What's going on?
Mokuba, please go. I need to have a word with our aunt, and expect this to be the last time you see her.
Seto, please tell me what's happening.
She worked in Sector 1.
No. She can't have.
Of course I didn't. You must be mistaken. Mokuba, I didn't...
How could you?
Because she's a liar and a manipulator.
It's not what you
It's
think.
exactly what I think. I read your file, and I know the projects you were involved in. You made your living breaking people down so you could build them up again to be whatever you wanted.
You say that like I liked it. It was just a job!
A job you could have quit! A job you didn't have to do! A job in which you know perfectly well that you were destroying people. And you kept at it. And for what? My guess is money.
All right. Fine. I worked in Sector 1. I designed some of our best products. What are you going to do about it? You won't tell the authorities. You would have already if you were going to.
She was right about that. The old Kaiba Corp was long dead and gone. But even so, if the public knew the extent of what the company once did, no amount of remodeling would ever re-earn their trust in Kaiba Corp or in Kaiba himself. He'd be ruined, and he couldn't have that. This company meant everything to him. It was how he was able to take care of himself and Mokuba, and how he would be able to build Noah a body and take care of him too.
Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave, and you're never going to come back. And if you dare even think of my brother again, I swear I will expose you for what you are and personally see to it that you spend the rest of your short and pitiful life locked away in a dingy little cell. Do I make myself clear?
You'd never do that. It'd wreck you, and your life would be over.
In a swift movement, Seto stepped out of his brother's grip and grabbed his aunt by the shoulders, causing her to squeal in surprise. He didn't hold her hard enough to hurt her, but certainly tight enough to make a point. His steel eyes stayed steady, and his voice was like the calm before the storm.
Don't ever challenge me. Don't ever think you're capable of that. And don't ever think for a moment that I would place my company above my brother. You heard him, and that's a dangerous position to be in. Come near him again, even consider it, and I will destroy you.
Fine. I'll leave, and we'll call this the end of it. I only wanted to be with the only family I have left. But if you can't accept that I have a past, just like everyone else—
Don't even try your guilt-mongering on me. It won't work. Leave. Now.
With a final glance at Mokuba, she did, and Seto ensured that he was standing in between the two of them the whole time. When the door finally closed behind the woman, Seto turned to his brother, who was standing in the same place he'd left him, looking as though his thoughts were far away. Slowly he walked forward and knelt in front of him. His gaze softened, and azure searched for ash blue. But Mokuba wouldn't meet his brother's eyes.
You were right, but I still don't get it. If she was that bad, did she really only want to be with us? Or was she using us for something else?
I don't know.
He wanted to tell Mokuba that it didn't matter, though. Lamia was gone and never coming back. That it was over and done with, and rather than dwelling on the past, they had a future to look to. But he'd made that mistake once before. Mokuba couldn't just let it go and move on. He needed to grieve. After all, this wasn't the first time they'd been betrayed by their own flesh and blood. And as he always did with people, Mokuba had so wanted to believe the best of their aunt.
It's going to be okay, little brother. We don't need her. We have each other, so we'll get by.
And for the next several months, it was enough for the both of them.